The same with the British Marine. I was just saying that to somebody else, that they're rushing now to try and get as much greater a loss.
Oh, yeah. Every time they cut a tree, it just grows larger.
Large spread myself with mature 3,000 trees. So what? Most, I think pretty well any arborist will tell you that.
Yeah, the oxygen they produce, it takes a long time before, they get that.
Are there any...
A quiet prayer. Creator God, sustainer of life, Holy Spirit, eternal word.
Closer to the mic.
Creator God, sustainer of life, Holy Spirit, eternal word. Give us strength to preserve the beauties you have given us. Give us courage. Give us perseverance. Give us commitment. Help us to not be afraid, to not back down, to stand our ground, because we know that we are doing your will. May your kingdom come. Amen.
Amen.
Namarupa, and in the world, Arupa, among the trees, among the distant lights and stars, a song. One endless breath, each single soul of us, hearts, legs, eyes, flow and shine. Early one morning, one man and woman set forth through all of it, himself, herself, the mountains, creeks, and many other creatures, anywhere. This is a hard language to work out. The images keep interrupting the talking. Trees keep being pictures of themselves. My words keep meaning pictures of words meaning tree. And it's not easy to find myself in the picture, except there is a strange familiarity. I remember something which is not a dream. And surely it isn't only in the mind when I step out into the forest, even think it. Not before there is a distant signal of a condition or presence. I and the trees are there in tune with it. Call it quietness. I see trees around me, or I am looking at a tree, the actual shape of such appearances are home, and I fall into them in a flash. I recognize it now as love. That's what goes on.
Here, here. Friend, you were arrested the first day. Come here, please. What is your name? Yeah, David. In large measure, I just want to stand in solidarity with David. And I want to remind us of the peacefulness with which he was arrested and his sense of presence there and humor. And to remind us all to be mindful of being peaceful people, of being a people who represent the good, who represent the life that is all around us in this place of beauty and God's creation. Thank you for your example, David. Please.
Be led forth with peace. The mountains and the hills will break forth before you. There'll be shouts of joy, and all the trees of the field will clap their hands. And all the trees of the field will clap their hands. The trees of the field will clap their hands. The trees of the field will clap their hands while you go out with joy. You shall go out with joy and be led forth with peace. The mountains and the hills will break forth before you. But now and gone was blind. But now I see.
sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found.
Think about what you're doing.
But now I see. Saved a wretch like me. I lost, but now I am found. Was blind, but now I see. Amazing grace, how sweet. Go out with joy. You shall go out with joy and be led forth with peace. The mountains and the hills will break forth before you. There'll be shouts of joy, and all the trees of the field will clap their hands. And all the trees of the field will clap their hands. The trees of the field will clap their hands.
The top there now. Yeah. Yes, we have. Yep.
Oh, there. No, is he being arrested or what? Whoa.
You want to call back in like 2 minutes? Not give him the phone?
First one is a flick all from here. It's a nap.
I once was lost, but now I see.
Eight inside and increasing. Start doing one at a time.
Like me.
We're going to do these. Actually, going to hold till you guys get down. I'm going to order again.
Hey, units near Foxtrot.
Step down. Back outside the property now. Outside. Excuse me. Put that down. Back outside the property now. Outside. You start picking up weapons here, you're in bigger trouble. Yeah. Move back off the property.
Are you kidding me?
Again. Just hold the police and get the
Everybody put their hands up. Hey, we're all under arrest.
That's right. We're all under arrest.
Yeah, okay. I'm just telling you.
Step away from the pole. Step away from the pole.
Do you think about the job you do?
Step away from the pole.
He's just earning a living. It's not his fault.
Yeah. Earning a living without thinking.
Most of them don't even know what's going on here.
It's not hard to see though, you know, like it's. Thanks.
Up the hill.
I'm gonna ask you to move back.
So all these people are breaking the law that are in here?
Basically, yes. Yeah.
Basically, they are or they aren't? Yeah.
Come on, guys.
Excuse me, sir.
My cell phone.
My God, show how great you are.
Don't you fools work for me?
Clothed with majesty and glory, you cover yourself with light and ride on the wings of the wind. You use the winds as your messengers and flashes of lightning as your road, and you rode over the mountains and into the valleys, to the place you have made for them. Never fail to keep them from covering the earth again. Springs flow in the valleys, and rivers run between the hills. They provide water for the wild animals. Where the wild donkeys quench their happy, olive oil to make them cheerful, and the bread to give them where the birds build their nests, or the nests of the bird created the moon for art alone. The sun knew the time to set. Made the night, and in the darkness as the wild animals come out. The young lions roar while they hunt, looking for the food that God provides. When the sun rises, they go back and lie down in their beds. People go out to their work and keep working
I have many other friends who are unable to come because they
nicely you made them all. The earth is filled with your creatures. There is the ocean, large and wide, where countless creatures live, large and small alike.
Maintaining peace here, and that is critical to what this needs to represent, and that we will continue to maintain the peace.
When you gave them breath, they are created. He gave new life to the earth, and it trembles. He touches the mountain, and they pour out smoke. For my goodness comes from him. May sinners be destroyed from the earth. May the wicked be no more. Praise the Lord, my God.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Hang in there, all right.
Yeah, stay strong.
Thank you, Patty. I'm so violent.
Step away from you.
Just draw the number and then talk.
You sure you want to do it today? Yeah, fine. What happened to my rushing and basically just let you go? I went down and told
That means in his hands he's got the whole world. In his hands he's got the whole world.
Whole wide world. In his hands, he's got the whole world. In his hands, he's got the whole world. In his hands.
Shit! Shit! You can answer to your own God, man.
Sir, you just let him know.
Okay, sorry.
Watch out. Charlie, you got some more? You can go back, straight back.
Where's my spike gun?
Shane! Shane was showing up the...
Everything for money and money for everything. What you did for the truck?
Folks, make sure you don't get hit by the truck. It's gonna be out of here. Just don't want to get hit.
We're all equal here.
We're all the same. But if you have a moral objection to this, you can back away. A great deal of consideration.
I once was lost, and now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see the sound.
Hook arms.
That saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. A wretch like me. I see that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, and now am found. Was blind, but now I see. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but I found. Was blind, but now I see. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me.
The color party want to get up here where they can sing.
Want to give him the Mohawk Unity flag.
All your work.
attention just for a moment, please? May I have your attention, please? The police officers want to release me unconditionally. Folks, I think this is the path to take. I don't want this to become a confrontation. We have demonstrated effectively before the world of our care for this place. We have demonstrated that we are people of peace, that we simply want the peace to be extended for our children. We have demonstrated that those who've already been arrested are not marginalized people, but in fact representatives of many, many citizens of this city. The police officers here and the security guards, these gentlemen are not the problem.
No.
We are not trying to make a problem that is simply some kind of demonstration of civil disobedience. We simply wanted to get across that this is an issue for which Hamilton residents should sit up and take notice, and that the politicians particularly would wake up to the fact that this is a sacred place. We are destroying our children's heritage by putting through the Red Hill Expressway. Wake up! Wake up! I want to say that your presence, your support, has brought about an unexpected turn here, and that we should then return with a sense that we have done a good day's work, and that we can live to carry that further in the future. So let the police cars through.
And we made it. Let's all go get it.
If we stay in your peace and carry the work of blessing before us, thank you, good Creator, for being with us today. Amen. 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 Hallelujah.
Leaving the site of a criminal scene.
Told me I was under arrest. He didn't tell me what the charge was. Brought me up to the police and they let me go. He may even have recommended that they let me go because it's a logistical nightmare to try and arrest a few hundred people. And as far as the charge goes, I would fight a charge that I'm on city property, destroying city fencing. I pulled up a stake that's illegally planted on somebody else's land.
Yeah.
And this land belongs to 6 Nations, and this land belongs to all of our children. This is, to my mind, this is an illegal occupation.
Yes.
And they're illegally cutting down somebody else's trees.
His land was never surrendered to the Crown.
No, this land is still sovereign. And I have been told that I'm an invited guest of the 6 Nations, so if you charge me with trespassing, you're arresting me under an illegal pretense, and go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Talk in a stern voice.
They should get involved with, with saving this valley.
They should get involved with saving this valley to save their souls. That's what they should do. They should be, I mean that absolutely literally and environmentally and in all kinds of levels. Again, it's something to do with reclaiming the sacred in our lives. And of not just our lives, but what about our children? I grew up with green space available to me so readily. I was in Greensville, above Dundas, Spencer's Gorge and the backwoods and even hiding out along the escarpment when you're a kid, It's all part of a sense that there's something bigger going on than just human activity. And we need to be waking up to that or we will end up in a terrible dead end. get involved in this for the sake of claiming our part of the heritage of this country. You know, the native people keeps talking about sacred places, sacred places. Well, this country is sacred, and when you acknowledge something as holy, you awaken the holy in yourself. So for those reasons, and for solidarity with so that people don't get so marginalized when they get arrested, they get marginalized, and they're wrong. That girl that got arrested that had some other protest count against her, and so media plays it up that she's some kind of agitator. I was a juvenile delinquent. I was 15 feet away from her. She was a placid, calm, devoted person who felt that she was called to try and protect this valley. Period. And so let's be in solidarity with these folks. You know, if we sat down and built a fire and talked about this for a few hours, lots more stuff would come out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
for people to be here tonight and before 6 o'clock in the morning, because if and when police do come to start removing protesters, it will likely come around 7:30 in the morning. That indication comes in the wake of last week's arrest, which began about the same time. Now, at this point, there's been no attempts to leave, to pick up and move the fire, the Sacramento fire that's here, or move the contents of the longhouse. Everyone standing here with me is pretty committed to the cause, and they're not willing to move at any time. Now, earlier this evening, there was a much different vibe when we visited anti-expressway protesters down at the Tivoli Theater. They were conducting a celebration of the Red Hill Valley.
It's okay, Matt, right up here. You don't have to move.
What happened there?
Okay, let's just get clean
What
through.
happened to the sound up on the VO? That was the Master of Ceremonies, Gary Santucci, who was commenting on the support, if it could possibly be waning in the light of the arrests that were made last week. Police were back here again at the Longhouse today, giving their warnings, not removing anyone yet. As they've said all along, they take their cues from the Sheriff's Office, who in turn gets their orders from the city. And there's really no telling when that's going to happen at this point. Annette?
They weren't here to say anything.
That's not what Dave told me.
No.
Dave said that Ken Leonards was here.
No, he wasn't here.
He said, Dave said it and Joe said it.
No.
He said they talked to him down at the... He said they were both here.
Oh, down there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they weren't here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, he didn't make me that specific.
Specific.
Sorry.
Okay,
He
that's
told me
fine.
that much. What, if we were to offer the olive branch, if there's anything we can do to help you guys out, if there's anything, what would it be in the next little while? Because we're getting down to the wire here from all indications I've been told. Is there anything you'd like us to do, like us to say? Is there any, you tell me.
No. We could just, continue
Because we're here now 24 hours a day.
and maintain, we have a peace fire here, and everything is peaceful.
Sure enough.
This is our peace camp, and what more can you say, or what more can we do? We're here to protect and preserve the Red Hill Valley and our homelands and our treaties, and the environment and everything that's here.
Looks pretty peaceful to me. I don't think anybody else could say anything otherwise. Has anybody been saying otherwise? No. Has anybody been saying?
Judgment for me, O God, and defend my cause. God is my strength. Why have you put me from you, and why go I so heavily while the enemy oppresses me? Send out your light and your truth, that they may lead me and bring me into your holy hill and to your dwelling, that I may go unto the altar of God, even unto the God of my joy and gladness. Harp, I will give thanks unto you, God, my God. Why are you so full of heaviness, O my soul, and why are you so disquieted within me? Keep your trust in God, for I will yet give him thanks, who is the help of my countenance, my God.
Yeah.
Coffee's just starting to kick in.
I've had 3 cups this morning. I'm wired right now.
We need more coffee.
I can feel the jaws locking up from the half inch I drank, so because that's
How you doing? Standing by. How you doing? Standing by. And according to Bob, all right. Good morning. The fight against the proposed expressway is growing more and more as more people turn out each day. And joining me now is Reverend Patty Doran, one of those people. Patty, what's the feeling amongst this?
Well, that's why I came down to check out. I came down to see if the people were still keeping the sacred flame burning, and to pray, and to pray particularly that the mayor and council will see fit to give this a stay of execution until the election on Monday, to add a bit of moral support and certainly to join in the prayers.
Yesterday you led a march from the building to the top of the hill here, and it was following the back of the police district for your efforts. But you're back down here again today, obviously not afraid to being charged for arrested.
Oh, I wouldn't say that. But I'm here because I can do no other. I'm here because I couldn't sleep. I'm here because these 3 days, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, are critical for the life of this sacred valley.
Now, any idea of what is going to happen today?
I certainly don't. I think I will keep praying, and I will be joined by more and more people, and I know that there is a presence of hope around me, and what more can we say at this moment?
Is the support growing amongst the community?
Yes.
More people turning out and showing their anger?
Yesterday there was an incredible turnout, and more incredible because it galvanized itself into a real community as we stopped at the stations and prayed and sang together and indeed kept silence together. So many different religious leaders, Mennonite, Quaker, Presbyterian, United, Anglican, Roman Catholic.
All right, thanks very much, Reverend.
Now, we'll be here throughout the morning talking to protesters and hopefully talking to police as well about their feeling, what is going to happen today. Bob?
Thanks very much, Adam.
To Korea, I've been there 4 times now, and the second time I came back from Korea I was much more concerned about the environment because of the pollution that was in the city I was living in Korea, Busan. There were so many cars and trucks on top of one another, and you'd see dust clouds of pollution at intersections. And I'd be gagging, I'd be holding my breath crossing at intersections and stuff. And the tons of garbage that would come ashore at the beaches that people didn't use, like there were the tourist beaches that were kept clean. And then the next section next to it would be completely filthy. When I got back here, the Red Hill Valley was so much more important to take care of and to deal with. And I guess I was just ready at that time to understand more about the politics. And there was a lot of information that came out in 1998 and around that time as well. There was studies done on what flora and fauna were in the valley. So we found out there were 24 kinds of fish using the stream. Not all of them come up the stream, though. Most of them are at the bottom of the creek. But you do see salmon and trout and white suckers migrate up the creek throughout the year. And there was information about how many birds nest in the valley. There was something like 50 or 60 different birds, and over 200 that migrate through here. And there were 24 kinds of animals found.
Yeah.
And that included the nationally rare flying squirrel, or southern flying squirrel. And this is the most northern point of its habitat. And the city had trapped 34 of those squirrels throughout the Niagara Escarpment within Hamilton. But the Red Hill Valley was one of its main homes.
That's an endangered species as well, isn't it?
Well, for Canada, yes. Yeah, because most of them live in the States. And they need a continuous forest in order to survive.
I heard of their sort of justification for cutting over there is because they wanted to cut them down before they could set up a home for the winter.
Yeah.
It just seems ludicrous to me, like, that just to even propose that idea, like, they're going to save this endangered flying squirrel, southern flying squirrel, by destroying its habitat. Like, it's just ridiculous.
Oh, I know. They use that excuse for everything.
Yeah.
We're going to make the valley more beautiful by putting this expressway through. We're going to get rid of all the garbage by putting this expressway through. Excuse me? Why don't you just pave all of Hamilton? Because there's garbage covering all of Hamilton. Oh, yeah. And people believe that stuff. That's the scary thing.
Yeah. They give scientific backing to it, and then people just hear all that jargon, and it's like, oh well, they must have a point to it, right? There's something in everything.
Yeah.
So I guess it's easy to believe for some people used to taking what's given to them, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of Hamiltonians who don't have a clue where this park is, and this is an enormous park. It's 1,600 acres. They think this park is in Stony Creek. They don't know this is East Hamilton. There are people who live a few blocks from here who've never stepped foot in this valley.
It's unreal.
Oh, it is. And I meet them frequently. And there's just so much life here, and it's so exciting in every season. It's really weird, but usually people use the parkland that's closest to their homes, and so the people who live in West Hamilton, they may not come out here very often, just because they'd have to drive or take a bus. And taking a bus out here is not easy.
Yeah, I found that out coming from St. Catharines. It's it's a little bit of a work to get up here, but
yeah, we have to wait a half an hour for some of them. Yeah. Getting back to 1998. There were a lot of consultant reports that came out from the city that year, and one of the most important was the air quality report. First, they released it's sort of like a draft, or it's not the official or the final report. And they used information by professors at McMaster, I believe Dr. David Pengali and a few other doctors there. I can't remember their names, but they the city took some of their research and misused it to say that the expressway will improve the air quality throughout all of Hamilton because it will take traffic off all these side streets, and there'll be less idling happening on these side streets. But they...
Yes. Where do they come in?
Could we go somewhere else? Because my stream of thought is...
hauling them out into the mall, right? So, you know, of course, the frantic person in the cheesy polyester uniform approaches Santa Claus and explains to him that you can't be stealing all the war toys. Just no, Santa wants boys and girls to have fun on Christmas, not learn how to kill each other. Ho, ho, ho. So they call the police, and the police come and they arrest Santa Claus, and they have to take him out through the mall. Mommy, they're arresting Santa Claus! Why are they arresting Santa Claus? Why? And all little elves, all in handcuffs, you know, with the hats with the bells on the ends, you know.
The curly toe.
That's right. Yeah, they had the felt elf slippers and the whole 9 yards, so absolutely.
That's surely cruel.
Cruel to the... Well, another good one was they...
Jim Quinn.
Oh my God.
Quinn.
She came back in and told me about Jim Quinn. She was gone.
Just take some water in it. Some shit right and throw it in.
Or just leaking out through
Okay, you know, like I had said before, I mean, the more people and the more help we can get out here, the better off we are. This is one of the last natural areas through this city of Hamilton. I mean, it contains native burials, native village sites, thousands of archaeological sites, history of 11,000 years, you know, and basically the people coming out is our biggest asset. I mean, if you can't come out, then, you know, maybe put some kind of political pressure on the city of Hamilton, you know, either through your own council members out there in St. Catharines, or, you know, phone the politicians here in Hamilton, phone the Premier's office, you know, the Environment Minister, anything along those lines. And if not, you know, that's great. But I mean, we can definitely, if you come out, we can make sure you're looked after, fed, and you'll be treated well. I mean, we've made a lot of good friends, and we're looking forward to meeting a lot more, right?
Oh, yeah.
So, you know, like, if you can come out, that'd be great. We'd love to have you, you know, even for a day, come out and see what we're doing here.
Could you say something about the medicines in the valley?
Well, I mean, this place is basically an untouched medicine chest. When we had come out at the beginning, one of the women had come along and walked from the gravel path to the camp, and they had found 4 medicines in the bush without even looking. That's right beside the path. I mean, the women have gone out on 2 medicine walks and have come back with bags and bags of medicines, and that's for the birthing center out in Six Nations. So they still have the knowledge, the good knowledge of the medicinal plants, which is safe, which isn't, how to mix it, how to take it, and everything else like that. That knowledge is still intact. And like I say, for all I know, there could be a cure for cancer in this valley. People just need to spend the time and start researching it a bit more and looking at some of the medicinal ways. I mean, I understand the reluctancy to share the knowledge that they have, because if the pharmaceutical companies get a hold of all of that knowledge, they can put a patent on these medicines, and then it would be even illegal for the people of Six Nations to use the medicines for personal uses or for uses out on the reserve for other people. So I know they're reluctant to share that information, but I mean, there are other people that will and know the plants and know how to use them still. So I'm sure there'll be, like I say, for all I know, there could be a cure to cancer or anything in this valley.
There's a lot more richness in this valley now than,
Yeah, I mean, you figure this hasn't really been picked for, I would think, 100 years on any steady basis. So, I mean, anything that's here is all natural. It's been here for thousands of years. It's just regenerating and getting more and more and more. And, I mean, if it's not harvested, then it's wasted. It's not really wasted. It goes back to the earth. But, I mean, if that medicine isn't harvested and used properly, then, like I said, it is basically wasting a good thing. And to put bulldozers through here and turn all this stuff up is ridiculous. I mean, medicines will be gone, graves will be moved and desecrated, sacred sites will be gone, and, the city really has other alternatives, but they're not thinking that. It's all about money and how much they can make and who's going to make it at the top of the hill.
What has been their position on the ancestors in the valley?
Well, they'll move them if if that's what we want them to do. And again, like Donna says, the bones aren't for sale and they're not movable. What they've said they would do is dedicate a piece of land, maybe an acre and a half, put a big chain link fence around it, nice little black monumental plaque saying who these people were, and they'll let the people of Six Nations name it. So I mean, once again, it's pretty white of them, but. For the people to, I mean, even in the treaties, the ancestors were not part of the treaties. They would never have ceded the land that the ancestors were buried on to the queen or the crown. They would have never ceded that land. So, I mean, that's not even mentioned in any of the treaties of the ancestors. So, again, the city would just as soon move them. If they get to move them and do something else with them, then this is no longer Six Nations land. As long as there's remains in the ground, whether we have historical proof or documented proof of these burials, then we know it's still Indian land. And there's more than the Six Nations people that use this land. The one dish, one spoon wampum belt, attests to that. It says, like all nations can come to this area, the beaver hunting ground, and use it as they see necessary to clothe, medicine, and maintain their people. So we're still smack dab in the middle of that beaver hunting ground. And it's still a good treaty, and I think there's 5 treaties on this valley. So, they've been planning a road here for 50 years. If they haven't been able to build it in 50 years, they got to realize there's a problem. They spent $5 million avoiding an environmental assessment, all of these things. So, the city's bound and determined they're going to punch a road through this place, but they don't need one. There's alternatives. Highway 20, the guys from McMaster University Engineering have just come up with a great idea for Highway 20 to put flyovers on it from King Street down below Byron Street, which would take care of the traffic that wants to get up the top of the hill really quick, and the industrial traffic as well, and it would leave lower road access for the people that live down in that area, so they could, and it only costs $60 million rather than $200 million. So, I mean, $190 million that the provincial government is going to donate into this road. We spent $60 million of it on, flyovers for a 20 highway, and we could fix the rest of the infrastructure and put some money into cleaning this creek and place up.
So besides the ecological ecological benefits of not putting this through, and maybe considering the Highway 20 option. There's also the economic side of it as well. Like it's even.
Oh, sure there is. I mean, like I say, with that extra money, if they went with the Highway 20 option, with that extra money, they could fix the deteriorating water and sewer system in the Hamilton. I mean, both the water, your drinking water and your sewer water all run in the same culvert, right, in the same cement pipe. They're in separate pipes, but they're starting to break down. So what happens when one of those sewer pipes breaks down and it starts leaking into the, or a crack in the drinking water pipe, so they mix and people are drinking raw sewage in with their city water. You think Walkerton was bad. What's going to happen when, 300,000 people drink that water? I mean, and if they put some money into this creek to get rid of the illegal sewer hookups, I mean, 5 years and you'd be able to swim in this creek and probably drink the water with some reasonable safety, eh?
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that needs to be done other than this road through this area.
rather than addressing those, already existing problems, or sort of just want to go ahead with this whole new project,
Yeah, and they'll cause more problems. I mean, there's almost $1 billion in losses that the taxpayers are going to have to suck up. Larry Deanne keeps tooting his horn about the $350 million in industry. Well, the taxpayers have to come up with another $150 million first before they can even see any of that $350 million. Talks about the almost $1 billion in housing that's going to be going, and the money they're going to get from that. It's going to cost the taxpayers of Hamilton $820 million to put that housing and infrastructure in place before they can see any tax return on that. So, we're looking at $1 billion in losses to the taxpayers. So your taxes will go up 15% for the next 15 years. And, people are, most of the people in the east end of Hamilton especially are working class Joes, and they don't have that kind of money, so they'll be looking to move somewhere else. And again, they'll have to settle for cheaper housing and, living in worse areas of the town, more industrial areas of the town. And again, then their children that they bring up are going to be breathing all that pollution. I mean, the city's also played with the numbers for the pollution readings on this road. They've got this road as a flat road out in the open, and meanwhile it's a valley road and going up and down hills. So even the guy that did the pollution studies will tell you straight up they've played with his numbers. And the pollution index and things like that are going to jump. We'll have twice as many bad air days in Hamilton. They tell you that the young and the very old should stay out of the valley altogether, and anyone in between that age groups should really limit their exposure to this place. So they've closed sports fields down. They're not going to be allowed. There's 3 schools right over here. They're not going to be allowed to let those kids out at lunchtime or at recess because of the air pollution readings and things like that. So they'll all have to be stuck indoors, get driven home or bussed home or whatever, and then they can go outside to play. So, I mean, they've closed sports fields down already because the pollution indexes are going to be so high that the kids, won't be able to play soccer safely without getting into it all.
So isolate the children, from nature further and further.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, instead we should be using this place as an educational tool. I mean, it's a history book that's waiting to be read, and it needs to be studied. Stop and study this place before we just decide to destroy it. I mean, there's been a lot of support throughout the area and outside areas as well to preserve this place, but the city it seems to be falling on deaf ears. And it's time that they woke up and smelled the coffee. Basically, it's it's someplace to save and something we need. It's a rare jewel in the midst of an industry city. Like Hamilton is one of the most polluted cities in the country. So to cut 50,000 trees out of it, you're just going to up that pollution and put 1 million trucks and cars over it, every year or whatever the case may be. We're not going to do anybody any favors. We just got rid of the Swaroo, which was the biggest dioxin producer in the country. So, we got rid of one pollutant, so we're going to add an even bigger one again. So it makes no sense. I mean, it's all about the dollar and who's going to make that dollar, and who's going to benefit from it. But it won't be the general public, that's for darn sure.
Thanks a lot.
No problem, brother.
Yeah.
Expressway as expressed in many editorials, but I think the truth will be certainly seen as the goals, and that's what we have to do, is keep the message alive.
Opponents to the Valley Expressway plan to challenge political candidates on the issue leading right up to Monday's municipal election vote.
Hamilton East River World is Sheila Coffin.
About a year ago. I mean, too bad now. We're staying here 24/7 now.
I guess the idea is every year.
Yeah.
And then, I've looked at several science schools, and we could have something like that, environmental studies, science something, because there's all kinds of things to be learned, studies.
Well, lots of the schools in town offer the outdoor education, but they usually brought them into here, so...
Right. So what better place for outdoor education than here?
Yeah, but they've cut a lot of those classes now because of this expressway, because all the work's going to be going on. Well, why take them back in there to study this stuff when, next summer it's going to be gone and we can't take the kids back, right? So, I mean, there's a lot of...
Well, that's kind of like the jackass.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of...
Before the jackass, right?
A lot of school teachers that support this here, right?
Cart before the horse.
Or whatever, eh?
I like the jackass.
It's like, the expressway people put like a carrot out there, for these guys that want the expressway, and they're gonna,
Yeah, just keep chasing that carrot. We'll get you there eventually.
And they're just gonna try and get them to plow right through here, They promise them a lot of carrots, apparently.
So, yeah, you come in with me.
Alright, speaking of school, I better go to school.
Yeah.
Okay. See you guys.
Bye.
We've had the neighbors from this side come and tell us, oh, thanks for last night, that music was great, the drumming and singing, and well, we haven't got a drum here, right? Well, somebody was doing it, well, it wasn't us, and then the guys from the other side of the valley, the same thing, come over and say, hey, the drumming last night was beautiful, and it wasn't us, so... And we heard them yesterday when we were walking.
Yeah.
We could hear that singing and drumming in the background, and it was just kind of wow.
Hey, when you're walking up the hill, if you had a chance, I'm pretty sure you weren't there, but we heard singing and drumming, and all they were doing were I guess their music. They started singing Amazing Grace for a while, but they were singing and drumming with us. Now, as I was saying, Cindy and I were standing here, and we could hear drumming coming out of that mock teepee. The spec reporter couldn't hear a thing, was sitting there just writing in his notebook, and she looked at me, she said, when I walked in, I'm sure I saw somebody in there. Go check it. So I went and looked. The drumming had already stopped by that point. I went, look, there's nobody sitting there in there.
And the reporter, like, you could tell he was not aware of it.
Totally
He could not hear it.
Walking out of here the other night, before I leave, I always stop and look at the fire, and if it needs something, I throw a log or two on, or if it doesn't, I just kind of watch for a minute and leave, and I stuck my head in it, and I could have swore there was somebody laying down the ground. And I come back away, and I goes, wonder who the hell that is? And Joyce goes, what? And I said, somebody's sleeping in there. So she stuck her head in, and she goes, well, there's nobody in there. They're right there, and I stuck my head in, and they weren't there anymore.
As rational people, you like one person, you can stand here, and if you heard it, you can maybe discount it. But when two people look at each other, shocked and surprised to hear it, it's something different.
Or when groups of 20 and 30 people hear drumming and singing in the middle of the day, and everybody's just going about their business.
And there's no drum.
There was no drum or anything here. We can hear all this stuff going on, and it's like, okay.
a stream of pollution if it were polluted.
That's the old ski hill. That's where there's no trees there.
So they just forced to sort of.
We're on the upper side.
Yeah, actually, I was just going through my.
Joy, would you give us that prayer? The Reverend Patty.
And every kind of weather, through which you give nourishment, powerful, sweet Lord. Yours is the praise, the glory, and the honor, and every blessing. Be praised, my Lord, for all your creatures, and first for Brother Sun, who makes the day bright and luminous. And he is beautiful and radiant with great splendor. He is the image of you, Most High. Be praised, my Lord, for Sister Moon and the stars. In the sky you made them brilliant and precious and beautiful. Be praised, my Lord, for Brother Wind and for the air, both cloudy and serene, and every kind of weather through which you give nourishment to your creatures. Be praised, my Lord, for Sister Water, who is very useful and humble and precious and chaste. Be praised, my Lord, for Brother Fire, through whom you illuminate the night, and he is beautiful and joyous and robust and strong. Be praised, my Lord, for our sister, Mother Earth, who nourishes us and watches over us and brings forth various fruits with colorful flowers and herbs. Be praised, my Lord, for those who forgive through your love and bear sickness and tribulation. Blessed are those who endure in peace, for they will be crowned by you, Most High. Be praised, my Lord, for our sister, bodily death, from whom no living thing can escape. Blessed are those whom she finds doing your most holy will, for the second death cannot harm them. Praise and bless my Lord, and give thanks to him, and serve him with great humility. Amen.